Hi there, my friends. I find it so hard to believe that in a world full of so much technology, that some people are still insisting that when you're starting to write a fiction book, you should write what you know. Hi there, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Lisa Oliver, and I have written roughly 130 odd titles in the MM paranormal and MM arranged marriage genres online. I have been a self published author since 2014, and I really love what I do, in case that isn't obvious. And the thing is I would not have started writing at all if I had only written what I knew. When I first started writing, I was not long out of it. Actually, I was still married when I started writing. But yeah, I lived on a farm in New Zealand, and my life was pretty boring. My father had just died about 6 months before I wrote my first book. And yeah, life really wasn't very happy at all. So I wrote my first book to escape, to create escapism. And that is why I think that write what you know is such a lie. Like when you're reading, books for enjoyment, what do you read? What are you reading about? What can you learn from those books? Even if you don't learn anything that might be necessary to your day to day life, you are learning a lot in the books you read about your favorite genres and about how a book is paced and how a book can, flows, and how different authors use different styles and different ways of words. But when that relates to you writing your own book, those are the things that you want to pick up, because when you apply your imagination to the page, it still has to have structure. So you can learn a lot from the books you read, but it doesn't necessarily mean then that you're writing what you know, is it? A second point that I'd like to make is that you can do so much research now online. And I'm not talking about using AI. If you haven't seen my video on AI, then you'll know that I don't believe it's useful for writing fiction at all. But you can research so much. Look at my situation. I am an older woman who lives in rural New Zealand, and I write most of my stories in the United States. They're set in the United States. And do you know how amazing Google Earth can be? I can go onto Google and I can type in, say, Chicago, for example, and I can just be dropped, because I go in and I look down the streets and I follow roads in Chicago. Like if I pick an address for a house that my characters are living at, which I find also searching on Google, I look through real estate sites to find what style of houses and what type of places my character might live in if they were living in a known place in the United States, for example. I can go to that address on Google Earth. I can see what's around their neighborhood. I can go down the road and see how far it might be to another landmark in that city that I have never been to. I used to dream of going to the United States. I don't quite feel that way anymore. Not at the moment. But I can visit it online perfectly safely. And it doesn't cost me anything, which is absolutely brilliant. Then there are other things, not only real estate, but I look at different things to do with vehicles, to do with distances is a big one, because it's funny, because I have a friend in Texas and he often laughs at me because I live in New Zealand and it's such a small country. You can pretty much drive from the very top of the North Island to the very bottom of the South. If you time the ferry right in the middle, you can pretty much do it in 2 days. But it was him that explained to me. He sent me this picture once of this map of New Zealand set superimposed over a map of the United States. And it was so tiny, like it didn't even take up a whole state. It was ridiculous. But so when I'm thinking about, in my head, it would be possible to drive from Los Angeles to New York. And then I find out actually it's like a hugely long plane trip, or it's a hugely long, road trip, then whether we're talking days, not hours. These things are things I can find out by using Google. Honestly, it's so awesome. I can also find out where the nearest airports are. I can find out where, whether or not some places are accessible by train, because that might be an interesting scene, having your characters on a train. All these sorts of things can all be found out. So you can research stuff and write about that. It's fun. Believe me, sometimes I can get into a bit of a rabbit hole. Like I think I remember recently when I was writing a book and I wanted to find a new house in Greece. And I spent about 2 hours wandering through real estate listings in Greece, and dreams are free, my friend. There's some amazing places there. But anyway, the other reason why I believe that writing what you know is a lie is because it doesn't account for imagination. All of us have incredible imaginations, and you only have to look at the work of some of the great sci-fi, the original sci-fi writers, like for Star Wars. I mean, who came up with Star Wars if they were only writing what they knew? Who came up with Doctor Who if they were only writing what they knew? Okay, I'm probably using very, very dated examples, and I'm sorry, because I actually don't keep up with a lot to do with media and things like that anymore. But the thing is that our imagination is absolutely incredible. I remember as a kid being blown away by stories by Charles Dickens. Jules Verne was another one that I absolutely really enjoyed, and things like that. And you can't tell me that they were writing what they knew. They were writing what they could imagine. They were writing with the idea of what if. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to getting ideas for your writing. You don't stick to what you know. If I was writing books that I knew about, about the things that I know about parenting, I know about being a domestic abuse survivor, I know about surviving, your parents, the death of your parents and things like that. But my friends, I don't know about you, but I don't find any of those topics entertaining. But the stories that I do write about shifters and vampires and magic users and fays with pretty wings, those things all came from my imagination. Okay, the fae with pretty wings might be a reference to a childhood reference to Tinkerbell, but as my fae are about 6 foot tall and male, perhaps that doesn't apply. We don't know. But you see, I don't know how to do magic, but I love writing about it. I don't know how to turn into a wolf, but I can write about it. And not only that, but I can research wolves online and on YouTube in particular. And I can find the noises that they make and the way they respond to different situations and circumstances. I can do all of those things. My vampires might not be sparkly and they may not be like Dracula, but I can research a lot about the history that my long-lived vampires might have gone through. And I can include those those little tidbits in my stories too, to give them depth and to give my character a bit more complexity. My friends, we are all unique. And one of the things that makes us so truly unique, and why it is I am so sure that AI cannot write a fiction book, or not well. I do realize they can do it. They can produce the words. But that story won't be gripping. That story won't be exciting. That story won't tug at a reader's soul because they don't have life experience. AI doesn't have a lived experience because it hasn't lived. But you and I, my friends, we have lived. And that is why I say that, yeah, don't just stick to write what you know, stick to write what you can imagine, write what you can research, write what you feel. And that will make some amazing fiction stories, my friends. I know this is only a short one, but I'd really love to hear your comments below. Please let me know what you think and what it is you enjoy writing about. And if you're new to writing, then perhaps you might want to mention what it is you would like to write about. And where did you get your inspiration? Where did you get your ideas from? I think that would be an awesome discussion too. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you think this is worth it. And as always, remember I post videos on long form videos on Monday and Thursdays. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. I always have to find the end record button. It's not in an easy place. Bye.